Okay, well, welcome everyone. Thank you all for joining us on this Thursday morning. My name is Christian Casillas. I'm with the Coalition of Sustainable Communities New Mexico, here with my colleague Mickey Anaya. And the Coalition of Sustainable Communities New Mexico is a coalition of local governments throughout the state, and we do work to support them on issues of equity and climate policy and sustainability. And we've been long involved in the process of community solar here in New Mexico. And we're currently working with the New Mexico New Mexico Program Administrator, Incline, to help with outreach and education, specifically bringing in connections and support for organizations that work with vulnerable households. And presentation today will be finished within the hour, and we'll begin with just the basics of community solar, jump into the particulars of community solar in New Mexico, and then talk about some of the important aspects that you might be interested in and that will be important for your constituencies, specifically around low-income participation, community protections, and some of the challenges and opportunities that we see unfolding in the program. And throughout the presentation, we have a number of pauses to allow time for questions from all of you, as well as any reflections that you might have about experiences that you've had so far with the program and that might be of value to the others on the call. So with that, I will hand it over to you, Mickey.
Well, thank you, Christian. And we begin our sharing with the basics of community solar. Next slide, please. You probably have heard the terms shared solar, solar gardens, solar farms, or community solar facility. These terms all refer to large off-site solar arrays. It's these arrays that allow customers of electricity to receive their electric power from a community solar project. The state of New Mexico's community solar program opens the door for customers of investor-owned utilities to get credit for power created by a community solar facility. And New Mexico's investor-owned utilities, also referred to as IOUs, are PNM, El Paso Electric, and Southwestern Public Service Company. Note that right now, the New Mexico Community Solar Program does not provide electricity to those who receive their electricity from electric co-ops. There are several benefits to subscribing to community solar. The primary benefit of subscribing to or signing up to receive your electricity from a community solar facility is the lower cost of that electricity. We'll address that and other benefits of subscribing to community solar later on in our presentation. Next slide, please. So the big difference between community solar and rooftop solar, there's actually two primary differences. One is the location of the solar panels, and the other is who those solar panels provide electricity to. Rooftop solar is generally located on a residence or a business, and it provides electricity exclusively to either the family or the business which installed the solar panels. The array for a community solar facility is generally, though not always, located where vast expanses of land are available, and the power from the array is not connected directly to homes or businesses, but it's sent into the power grid for distribution to a wider community. Now, when I say that a community solar project is not always located on a vast expanse of land, Some community solar projects can be located, for example, on top of large parking structures, which sends the solar power generated into the grid for distribution to community solar subscribers. Next slide, please. What can we expect? Well, savings of money on a subscriber's monthly electric bill is the most anticipated benefit from participation in New Mexico's community solar program. The New Mexico Community Solar Act, which created New Mexico's community solar program, includes a 30% carve-out for low-income households. This sets low-income households on course to providing deeper discounts on their electric bill. Christian will discuss the low-income participation further into our workshop. Next slide, please. So this illustration is a real clear depiction of how community solar moves from an array to the subscriber. Under the purview of the New Mexico Public Regulation Commission, a solar developer builds the community solar facility or the solar farm / solar garden. Customers sign up, and the sign-up process is referred to as subscribing. Customers subscribe to receive credit from the portion of the power generated from the community solar facility that they sign up with. The size of their credit is determined by the size of the portion of the solar array that they subscribe to. Meters are installed at the solar farm for each of the subscribers, and the meters track generated power associated with each subscription. The power generated by the community solar facility is fed into the distribution grid. Power generated will produce bill credits applied to the subscriber's utility bill as a discount. Next slide, please. So this slide shows how an array within a community solar facility can be shared by multiple subscribers. Christian?
And so the question on most subscribers' minds often is, how do I save money? What are the potential financial benefits of subscribing to community solar? And the program works similar to something like your subscription to Netflix. You will receive, a subscriber will receive a monthly bill. And with that bill, they are paying for bill credits for a portion of the energy produced by the community solar project. And now, in addition to the subscription bill, they will also need to be paying their monthly electric utility bill. Except now, on that monthly utility bill, they'll be receiving bill credits that will discount the cost of the energy portion of the bill. And the combination of the community solar subscription and the utility bill should end up with a net bill savings over what they're currently paying. And we're expecting that, similar to other programs around the nation at this time, that most subscribers will receive something around 10% reduction in electricity expenditures and greater savings for low-income subscribers, which we'll talk more about. And here's just a little bit of a pictorial to with some numbers to give you an idea of what something like the bill savings might look like. And this is just an example from a company from a community solar program in another state. And so on the left-hand side, you can see that their initial bill from their utility was $150. And then once they subscribed to Community Solar Project, they began seeing solar bill credits on their electricity bill. And in this case, they're receiving $100 worth of bill credits. So their electricity bill drops from $150 to $50. But now they're also needing to pay their subscription fee. And in this case, they're paying their subscription fee is $80, and with that, they're getting the equivalent of $100 of bill credits. So they're really seeing a $20 savings every month. And so with that, note that the savings is only on the energy charge of the bill. And every electricity bill has a number of other costs, service costs, things called riders, taxes. And so if they're receiving a $20 discount on their energy cut portion of the bill, they might be seeing, well, if they're receiving a 20% savings discount on their energy cost, their overall cost of their bill might go down something like 18 to 15% savings. And so with that, I'll just pause there for any questions that anybody has around some of the pieces that I've just talked about, as well as what Mickey shared, as well as any experiences that you've had so far with the program. And if you have a question, you can just unmute yourself, or you can also drop a question in the chat.
I've got a question. So are people paying to subscribe and then that they see that money back, or is it like just you sign up for it?
So they will need to pay a monthly subscription fee. And so now, instead of just paying their electricity bill, they're going to be they'll need to pay two bills. And in the case we just saw, they're paying $80 subscription cost, and then they're also paying their utility bill. Their utility bill was $150 a month, but now it's $50 a month. And so that is one of the challenges, is that some households might not be willing to pay two bills. Most of this will be on all of it will be likely through digital means, which will make it easier for some people and inaccessible for some unbanked households. And there are in other states, there's something called consolidated billing, where the person subscribes and all of the subscription costs is fed into the bill. The utility handles both sides of it. And we're hoping that a future iteration of the program in New Mexico will be able to utilize consolidated billing.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks for the question, Haley.
And Christian, we've got a couple of questions from Donna in the chat, and Elvira has her hand up.
Okay, so is there a community solar program already running in New Mexico? And I'll go into the details of that in the subsequent slide. Right now, there are not any community solar projects built and operating. And we're not going to go into the process for siting, but it will be, siting is totally dependent on the jurisdiction where the land is. Every county has various siting requirements. It could be built on state land. It could be built on private land. We do have a number of folks from local governments who could probably speak in much more detail about this than I could. Elvira?
Oh, I just wanted to clarify. I like the question about how customers are paying their bills, and you clarified they have two bills, right? And so just to further clarify, they're not having to take out a loan, kind of like on a rooftop project. I know folks are asked to take a loan and then they're paying their loan, but then their bill is reduced on their utility bill. In this case, it's their impact is having to pay two bills, but in the end they pay less, right?
That's right. That's
okay,
right.
thank you.
Yeah, and you know, we encourage, and again, we'll talk about this later. We'll encourage households to shop around for the biggest discounts to sign up for, even though we expect the discounts to be all pretty clustered together.
And Donna has another question.
Wonderful question, Donna. So absolutely. Donna's question is, can renters also subscribe to community solar if they pay their own electricity? And that is one of the big arguments for community solar, is that it allows households who are renters, who maybe can't afford, or homeowners who can't afford the upfront cost to put on rooftop solar, to still receive financial benefits from the cheaper cost of solar, as well as the support, the environmental benefits from it. So absolutely, we expect and hope that renters will be a big portion of the beneficiaries of New Mexico's community solar program.
Hey, Christian, are any electric co-ops participating?
Another good question, Neil. So the 3 investor-owned utilities, which we'll talk a little bit more about, are required to participate in this program. All electric co-ops have the option to voluntarily opt into the program. And to date, none that I'm aware of have. Even though there are some rural electric co-ops like Kit Carson up around Taos that has some an existing, I think maybe several existing community solar programs, one with the Pecaries, and another one, I believe, in the town of Taos. And I'm aware of at least 2 other electric co-ops that are currently doing evaluation studies for developing their own community solar projects.
Interesting. Are you able to share which co-ops those are?
No, I don't think so. They're in Tri-State Electrics. Tri-State is a energy provider to the majority of rural electric co-ops in New Mexico, and due to the large financial tax credits available with the Inflation Reduction Act, there's just a lot more incentive for these organizations, especially with additional discounts if they're sited or supporting low income or disadvantaged communities. So there's just a lot more incentives for them to be involved, because the financing is pencils out much better than it ever has before.
Okay, thanks, Christian.
Yeah, you're welcome. And so with that, I'll turn it over to Mickey to talk about some of the
Yeah.
environmental benefits.
Thank you. So previously I mentioned that there are several benefits to subscribing to community solar. And Donna, you must have been reading our minds, because the first benefit there is that it allows renters to participate in a community solar project. And the benefit of course, the benefit most associated with solar generated electricity is the benefit to our environment. And more participation in solar means less use of fossil fuels and reduced use of fossil fuels, leading to less pollution and cleaner and healthier communities. Next slide, please. This is one of my favorite slides because it's like so eye-opening. This is a slide of a 5 megawatt solar facility, which is about 30 acres in size. And that 5 megawatt solar facility avoids adding 3,800 metric tons of CO2 into our atmosphere. And this is the amount of CO2 produced by 800 gasoline cars. And these figures are annual figures. Next slide, please. So why is community solar important? Well, the New Mexico Community Solar Program is particularly important because of the savings that it's going to bring to those in our communities who struggle most with affording the cost of their electricity. There's 150,000 households in our state that spend up to 15% of their annual income on utilities. Less money spent on electricity is money that can be allocated to the family's other needs. Christian?
Thanks, Mickey. So I will zoom through some of the particulars of the Community Solar Program in New Mexico. So the Community Solar Act was passed in 2021, and it created this initial statewide program of up to 200 megawatts of community solar projects to be built within the 3 investor-owned utility service territories. Each project can be a maximum of 5 megawatts, and we'll review again, kind of giving you some intuition for the scale of that. So this past summer, there were 400 and over 400 bids submitted to develop those projects. There were 45 projects that were selected to be built, and those projects will be built 6 in El Paso Electric territory, 10 in Southwestern Public Service Company, and 29 projects in PNM. The program timeline is unfolding at a slower pace than I think many of us were hoping. Right now, all of the bid winners are going through something called interconnection studies. They're engineering studies with each of the utilities to better understand the technical requirements and financial costs to connect their projects to the distribution grid. And once those studies are finalized, the projects make a decision whether they're going to move forward, and then they can begin building the systems. We expect that the actual first projects will be coming online, possibly as early as summer of 2024. But most likely later than that, with the majority of them coming online up through summer of 2025, and possibly later. The timeline is still unfolding. Of relevance to this timeline is that the rules for the program by the Public Regulation Commission require that all of the low-income service commitments be fulfilled. They fill that allotment of subscribers by August of this year. That timeline may shift, where many of us are hoping that timeline will shift closer to the date of when most of the projects will be coming online. And so Mickey already mentioned, this is just an image of what most of these projects that will be built. Of the 45 projects will be 5 megawatts, and 5 megawatts would take about 30 football fields to fill. So they're fairly large in size. And this is an image of the investor-owned utilities service territory that will be participating in the project. And so just to give you an idea of scale, even though the service territories of these 3 IOUs cover about 20% of the land area of New Mexico, they serve around 80% of the households. And so in this next slide, you can see this is actually the location of where these 45 projects will be built throughout New Mexico. And something to note is that, just as an example, we can see that there's going to be a facility built up here in Clayton, New Mexico. And if I go back, we see that Clayton is served by PNM's service territory. So in order for a subscriber to subscribe to a community solar project They just have to be have a meter and receiving a bill anywhere within the service territory of utility that has a community solar project. So as an example, a household in Deming, New Mexico, in PNM service territory could subscribe to receive bill credits from a facility built up in Clayton, New Mexico. But somebody in Clayton can't subscribe to a project that would be built in SPS or El Paso Electric service territory. And now I'm going to move on to low income participation. And I was going to pause for questions, but maybe we'll pause in a few more slides and then take any questions that folks might have. So part of the statute, the law for community solar in New Mexico, it requires that 30% of every project will be reserved for low-income customers and low-income service organizations. And the law defines a low-income customer as a household that has an annual income at or below 80% of the area median income. And the law also describes a low-income service organization as one that provides services, assistance, or housing to low-income customers and may include a local or central tribal government, a chapter house, or a tribally designated entity. And within the rules, any household can pre-qualify as a low-income customer if they're already enrolled in the following programs. So if they're already enrolled in Medicaid, a supplemental nutrition assistance program, a low-income home energy assistance program, first-time homeowner program, or housing rehabilitation program, if they're living in a low-income or affordable housing facility as well. And so they just have to show designation of involvement in any of those programs, and they would automatically qualify for the allocation and the discounts offered to low-income subscribers. If they're not participating in any of those programs, they can also qualify if they're able to demonstrate that their annual household income is at or below 80% of the area median income. And the confirming documentation that they'll need to be supplied will be left up to the organization that is subscribing them. And we expect these might be things like participation in a free and reduced school lunch program, or some sort of income qualification program with the local government, state. As well, we're waiting to see, it might be possible that some of these rules might shift a little bit. But the ultimate goal is to make the barriers as low as possible for struggling households that likely fall under that 80% AMI threshold to be able to participate. And even though the rules require at least 30% low-income participation, all of the 45 projects that were selected have committed to allocating at least 50% of their capacity to low-income households, to forgo upfront costs, early termination fees, and credit checks for these low-income subscribers, and to offer a supplementary community solar bill credit ranging from 20 to 30% for at least 5 years to low-income subscribers. So we're quite happy with the turnout of the bid selections, seeing really greater commitments to greater benefits for low-income subscribers. And this slide is just an example of how the breakdown could look for a community solar, a 5 megawatt community solar facility. So 40% of the energy can be allocated to a single subscriber. These are are typically called anchor tenants, and it might be something like a school or a local government. And then we could see, or we will see at least 50%, all of the area within blue here, allocated to low-income households, to low-income subscribers. And there were incentives within the scoring criteria so that the bid winners also committed to serving a greater proportion of low-income households than low-income serving organizations. So in this example, we might see that 40% of the low-income, 40% of their array is going directly to low-income households, which might serve something like 500 separate households. And then another 10% going to low-income serving organizations, nonprofits, food banks, etc. And then 10% of the total allocation then would be for non-low-income subscribers and small businesses. And something that will be helpful to understand is what the different organizations are that are involved. So the organizations that won the bids and will be building the projects are referred to as subscriber organizations, and they're the project developers. However, these subscriber organizations are not typically the ones that will go out and do the work on the street to enroll customers and to answer questions and maintain that customer enrollment. The subscriber organizations, or SOs, typically hire companies to do that, and those are called subscriber managers, or SMs. And right now we know of at least 3 companies that will be doing the bulk of the subscriber management for all 45 projects. And then the SMs in turn, this might feel complicated, might then in turn hire other companies or individuals to go door to door and enroll customers. They might also form partnerships with low-income serving organizations, and we know that they have been doing that, so that they're trusted entities that are going and describing the benefits of community solar and enrolling low-income households. And this is an example, an image from our website, the Coalition of Sustainable Communities website. We have a page where we are hosting a project comparison chart where anybody can go online and look at what some of the terms might be for the different projects. And this is all voluntary. Right now, one subscriber management company named Solstice, which will be managing 24 of the 45 different projects, has provided some early estimations of what their terms will be for subscriptions. You're welcome to look at that page. And from that page, you can also, there is a link there that will bring you to another page on Solstice's own webpage, where you can sign up to get more information when they will begin subscribing organizations. And keep in mind, this is not, there's no commitment here. You're not subscribing to anything. You're just submitting your name on an information list so that this company will begin letting you know when their projects are built, as well as when they are actually beginning to enroll customers. And we're hoping that in the next several months, we'll get this similar information from the other subscriber managers as well, so that this page that now just has one column will have additional columns describing the different terms from different projects throughout New Mexico. And so that was quite a bit. And I'll just pause there for any questions that folks might have, as well as any anecdotes or information that you are welcome to share from your, if you've been approached by any organizations or any other community solar related experiences. Really, no questions on all of that? Okay, well, I'll move on, and as if questions come up after the webinar, you're more than welcome to reach out to us. And so the next topic I'm just going to touch on are issues of consumer protection, which I'm sure will be of interest to all of you, especially for the more vulnerable households that you might work with. And so all participants in the Community Solar Program are required to provide each customer, before they subscribe, before they sign any contract, these 3 forms. So the first form is a program flyer in English and Spanish that just gives some basic information around community solar, as well as useful contacts, as well as guidance about evaluating the subscription. The next form, again, and all of these are required to be provided in English and Spanish. The next form is something called a disclosure form, which I'll say more about in the next slide, as well as a disclosure form appendix. And so the disclosure form will have all the nuts and bolts and details of the contract that a household will be subscribing for. And again, they're required to be given this form before they sign any contract. And this form will disclose the future costs and benefits of subscriptions, key contract terms, security, interests, and other relevant information pertaining to the subscription, as well as grievance and enforcement procedures. These are just a few consumer protection tips that are on the Community Solar flyer. So of course, it makes sense to compare multiple quotes. And this is all information that we hope you all, as organizations that work with a variety of constituencies, can be well informed about and be sources for information for your constituents, as well as connectors to ourselves and to the program administrators, who will be able to answer many of the questions. So again, comparing multiple quotes, being aware of high pressure sales tactics, really understanding the terms of the contract, and that's the goal of the uniform disclosure form, as well as the project comparison chart, allowing people to see what different terms should be. And then as well, debunking misinformation. So we're really optimistic about the program participation and the organizations that are doing the work, but you just never know who might end up being hired or what information might be getting disseminated. And so it's really important that subscribers know who they can reach out to if something sounds suspicious or not right or confusing. And the first point of contact would be the program administrators. And that information is here as well. We'll send out a resource link after the webinar that will have a number of different places where folks can go, including the New Mexico, official New Mexico Community Solar Program website. And then in addition, there's also the New Mexico Public Regulation Commission, which is the regulatory body in charge of this program. I'll just pause there again if folks have any questions. Feel free to just speak up or put anything in the chat, and I I guarantee that if there's a question on your mind, it's probably on the mind of at least one other person on the call here as well.
I'm thinking about how to share this information with the faith communities that we work with, and the houses of worship being such a integral part of how kind of information is spread in the state, and just wondering what those tools are and if that's something that that you have that we can share, or if we should wait further down the line of what. It's really helpful if we have like the most clear and basic communication to share with people in our network.
Yeah, no, that's a wonderful and important question. So following this this seminar, this webinar, you'll receive a message that will have this slide deck as well as
Right.
clips to different parts of the webinar that are on YouTube that folks that you're welcome to share. We are currently partnering with two nonprofits that are developing some materials for their constituencies, things that will be a little bit more simplified than the very good and detailed program flyers. Both we expect some pictorial kind of print information as well as some kind of short video clips that can be shared on social media. And so once that information is available, we'll be happy to share that with you. And I should mention that we also run something that we call a low-income working group, where once a month we get together with a program administrator, and they're on the call here, Christina and Pauline, and with a number of other organizations, and just kind of discuss and brainstorm. And that would be a great place. Joan is actually on our list, but I will include you, Haley, if you'd like to be added to that list. And
sounds
that's a
great.
great
Thanks.
place to have a conversation with other organizations, thinking out loud together about ways that this information can best be disseminated. And one of and Mickey's going to talk about this in a subsequent slide. One of the pieces is that folks are hesitant to get people too excited about the program right now, given that it is still months before they can enroll and maybe years before they'll be receiving their first financial benefits.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, thank you. That's really helpful.
You're welcome. With that, I'll hand it over to you, Mickey.
Yeah, thank you. So we are going to face some challenges as subscriber organizations begin to enroll. And the biggest challenge that we perceive right now is that there's going to be a time lag. And what that time lag is basically is that enrollment will begin, but it could be as long as 1 year before the projects actually come online. So as you're doing your outreach, it would be important to explain this to households or, potential subscribers. Another foreseeable challenge is that folks are going to be receiving 2 bills. And most projects won't be able to enroll households without credit cards or bank accounts. And that could be problematic for those in our communities that are unbanked or underbanked. And, some people might be resistant to receiving yet another bill. And so that's something else to keep in mind. There's some households that are unwilling to trust an unknown company asking them to sign up for a program. That could be a potential barrier to participation in the program. And the documenting of income For households that are not enrolled in any kind of pre-qualified program, they'll have to show verifying documentation, proving their income, and that extra task could also become a barrier for participation. Next slide, please. So there are roles that community organizations can play. And most importantly would be to reach out to the communities that you serve and provide information to folks. We'll support you in your efforts. And Haley, thank you for your question. And don't hesitate to reach out to us. In addition to becoming a subscriber to a community solar program, low-income community serving organizations can also become an anchor tenant. And Christian, is there anything you'd like to add as we move on to questions?
No, I do think it's important to mention that that there are opportunities for nonprofits to partner with some of the subscriber managers in terms of education and outreach and enrollment. So if that seems like something you'd like to learn more about, as as a way to reach your constituency and also generate revenue for your organization, you can reach out to the different subscription management companies, and you can get that from the official CS New Mexico website. Get that contact information. And if you have any questions that come up, regarding like, oh, does this seem like a fair, reasonable contract? You can certainly reach out to us as a resource to help you think through some of these aspects.
Thank you. So we're moving on now to our final question and answer session, and we've got a question from Donna in the chat.
Thanks, Donna. It's a great question. So how many metric tons of CO2 are produced in making the solar panels for a 30-acre site? Is this less than the CO2 saved in the lifetime of the panels? So I don't know the exact numbers. A number of years ago, I remember, so there are these lifetime carbon emission studies, and for every energy generation technology. And I recall, and somebody on here, maybe from one of our local governments, might have an actual exact number, but I think it was pretty typical that a solar panel will produce electricity for likely 30 years. The warranties are usually for 20 to 25 years. There's power production guarantees for 20 years, even though there's no reason why they wouldn't produce for at least 30 years. And over that, the time period of their lifetime, I think they end up generating the amount of energy consumed in their production is it's fairly, or I'm sorry, that the offsetting the amount of emissions produced for their production is something like in the first 1 to 3 years or something like that. So the answer is a resounding yes. There's a reason why solar is now one of the primary means of transitioning to carbon-free economy. Any other Any other questions? Or any reflections? I'm wondering if anybody on this call has come in contact with any subscription managers or received questions from their community around community solar, or whether this just really isn't yet something on the radar of your organization or of the communities that you work with. Have a good day, Pauline. How about, can everybody on their reactions just put a thumbs up if they've been hearing about community solar, either from from their peers or constituency, and a thumbs down if they really haven't yet heard much about community solar. Seen a couple thumbs up. So that's, yeah, all right. Well, that's good to know that folks are hearing about it and hopefully becoming curious, and now all of you hopefully are a little more better equipped maybe on some aspects of the program with details, and following this webinar we'll have information to share with other folks, whether it's peers, colleagues, or some of your stakeholders. And please do, and encourage other peers and other low-income serving organizations. We'll have one more webinar on is it the 24th, Mickey?
21st, February 21st.
And so, yeah, so please, if you think this could be of value to them and their organization, and encourage them to sign up. Mickey, do you have anything else that you'd like to share?
Just a big thank you to everybody for the time that you took to be with us this morning.
Yeah, so
there's a message in the chat from Alicia. She's sharing a link with us.
oh, great. Yeah, thank you. And Alicia, just give a shout out. Her organization does a lot of good work advocating for kind of the democratization of energy, and they're supporting a wonderful bill in the New Mexico legislature right now, which would provide over $100 million to organizations such as tribes and local governments to pay for technical assistance in putting together proposals for things like community solar and other renewable energy focused projects. And Alicia, you're welcome to yeah, okay. Is there if you want to put in the chat a link to your website and description about the bill if anybody's interested.
And the bill number also, that would be great.
There we go. So there's a link in the chat about the legislation right now. So yeah, it's an important equity focused bill. So yeah, please take a look, everyone. Christina, do you have anything you want to add from the program administration side?
One of the things that we're working on in the next couple months is to redesign the program website. When we originally built the program website, it was largely tailored to companies and with information about like the bidding process and things like that. But now that we have selected projects and we're getting closer to more marketing starting, we want to redesign it to make it better for, like, still have all that information, but make it easier for customers to navigate as well. So I think it was Haley that had asked about resources to share, and the website will also be a really good place to go. It already has information, but it's going to be like a lot more consumer friendly once we make these updates.
Great. Thank you so much, Christina.
You're welcome.
All right, well, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.